Can you hear me okay? I don't think you can hear me, can you? No, you can't hear me. Why not? Can you hear me now? Is that any better? No? No.
Yes, it's better.
Oh.
Yes, it's better.
That's
Better now.
good.
You were freezing and it was breaking up.
Okay, let me just change this position on this thing. This is my tethering device. I want to put it up here. That might help. I'm back in Froome tonight where the Wi-Fi is awful. So, can you hear me okay now? It's good? Good enough, excellent, awesome stuff, thank you. Sorry about that. So come on all fours first, so start on your hands and knees. Like a child, and shake your body a bit, shake your spine. Drop your head down, drop your head and jaw a little bit and shake out your head and jaw a touch. So get your head down and just shake out your head a touch. Feel the jaw wobble and relax as you move. And find any kind of wiggle in the spine. And take out any of the compressive patterns of the day. Just a little bit. So you can arch upwards, arch downwards, reach to the sides of the spine, wiggle and shake, and notice what your breath is doing. You don't have to do anything particular with the breath. You can do anything at all. I'm not going to give you any more direction than that. Just play for a little bit. I'm not looking for a specific outcome here other than some release. And go for shaking the head out. Go for a little bit. If you drop the head down slightly and shake and make a little bit of noise. Oh, yeah. Well worth doing. And then slowly come up to standing. Go via squatting if you can. Go via squatting if you can. If squatting isn't comfortable, come up with your hands on your knees or any other way that comes up that supports you in your lift. Right. And then in standing, from squatting to standing. If you're in standing, bend your knees now. Just bend your knees a couple of inches. Yeah. And then curl down, take your head down towards the floor. Curling down slowly, breathing out. And keeping the knees a little bit bent. Start to bounce the knees, bounce the legs a little bit. So you're going to get a feeling of bending and then straightening the knees. You don't have to straighten all the way up. There's a little bit of shaking. Get that shake so it wobbles your fingertips. And it wobbles your jaw. And again, if you need to support on the knees, you've got an achy back or you need some support on the knees a little bit. And again, just let your head hang down. The head's going to wobble from side to side. And you can be really, really gentle with this. Or you can be super vigorous. Listen to what your body tells you feels right. So the lower body is a kind of tree trunk in the wind. And the upper body is a crazy monkey just hanging out. Or a relaxed jellyfish. Yeah, make some sound with it. Any kind of sound. Whatever's going to come out, to be honest with you, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be too much of it. And no specificity around that today. Just a little bit more. Beautiful. And take one leg. No, first of all, I want you to bring the upper body up slowly. We're going to curl up with the upper body. So start just coming up slowly, bending the knees as you come up, curling up through the spine to come back to standing, bringing the head up last of all. And then take one leg back behind you. And let just a step backwards, one leg stepping backwards. Make that step long enough, maybe about a step, leg and a half lengths. Now you can keep your hands on your pelvis, you can keep your hand on your knee. If you want to, you can keep your hand on your front knee. If you're more familiar with movement practices, you can bring your hands up in the air, any of those movements. And all we're going to do is simply just get a little bit of activity in the front muscles of the leg, in the quadriceps. So I need to bend the back knee slowly down towards the floor as you breathe out. Lisa Templeton, if you take your step a bit longer, that's it. That's going to be better for your front knee. Yeah, so get more loading there. And take your knee slowly down to the floor and then slowly back up again. And if you are reaching up into the sky, see how far you can reach. Hands on the chest, fine. Hands on the pelvis, fine. Hands on the chest, fine too, actually. Yeah. Just a few times opening up through the front line here, so that line through the shins, up through the quadriceps, front of the legs, and up through the front of the body. And as you bend the knee down and straighten it, you'll get a sense of lengthening through that line. If it's particularly tight, you'll feel it. Otherwise, it might feel just kind of slightly pleasant. Just a couple more times on that side, and then we're going to change over. And then change legs just to the other side. You step, change legs over, play with the other side. Notice any differences. Lovely job. And then plant your feet about slightly wider than hip width. That's width on the floor. And we're going to do a floppy twist. Keep the arms really floppy. So the out breath, you're going to turn the spine around, let the arms just flop around behind you, and then turn the other way. And keep your head soft and relaxed. Keep your neck soft and relaxed. Let the spine lead the twist, so the arms are just flopping. Yeah, make any sound you want again. It's going to be very auditorily rich. Yeah, that'll do. I'm not demoing it. You're doing a grand job there, just turning yourself into a little bit of a windmill. Or Damaru is the Indian drum, Tibetan drum. It has strings on it and balls on the end. And that'll do. Lovely job. There's plenty. And slowly just come back down to sitting again. Sitting, kneeling, anything at all. Comfort. Relax the jaw, open the mouth a tiny little bit, tongue behind the top teeth. 3/4 close the eyes. And just noticing the breath now. Being aware of the breath, being aware of the body. So as you sustain awareness and breath, just noticing what it's doing, not changing anything. I want you to reflect a little bit on anything that keeps you awake at night, what it is, what kind of things. What kind of things keep you awake at night, if anything? It's the first question. The second question might be, what kind of events, experiences, or circumstances keep your brain busy and thinking? Repetitive, cyclical thinking. We go round and round and round, doing mental rehearsals of that particular thing, of what the possible outcome might be or might not be. What topics are they? What events? What circumstances? So if you've had any of those in your life in the last 6 months or so, you can use those as reference points for this particular reflection. And see if you can find out what those main elements of your life are, where you engage in this kind of activity. We all have them, by the way. It's not at all unusual. It's just what we do. They're oftentimes around relationship, either the relationship with the person we're in, or the relationship with the person we're not in, or not being in a relationship. They're often around money, having too much money and not knowing what to do with it, or too little money, and knowing what to do with it but you haven't got it. So money, relationship, work is another one. Just reflection, because we're going to do something with this. Time is another one. I always need 36 hours in a day. I struggle with just 24. Health is another one. How we feel, being alive, being in our body. And issues of aging, getting older. So just notice those patterns. There may be other areas that I've not mentioned that are important in your mandala of experience, where the brain becomes active in terms of processing possible outcomes or rehearsing scenarios that have happened. Just catch a few of those, so that, and we'll come back to that in a minute. Now really be ruthlessly honest here about any places, any patterns you have, where you go into awfulizing, where you create scenarios of the future that are just painful, suffering, difficulty, loss, grief, sadness. Where might you do that? What domain of life? Wonderful. Now, this kind of engagement of repetitive thinking is quite normal. So we don't want to criminalize yourself in any way, shape, or form. Just accept that it's a normal human experience. But then what you want to do, what I invite you to do, is to take responsibility for these patterns. In any way of languaging now that works, I want you to say to yourself, I do stressful thinking, feeling in this area of life with regard to, I'm going to use the example of money, with regard to money. It could be anything. But just really claim it and own that experience and say, this is where I do difficult, stressful thinking. And go around any of those domains of life, whether it's a money relationship, sex, aging, work, wherever it is. There are more. And own them all. We have complex experiences of stressful experiences. Own them all. When you've done that, the next question for you is, where did you learn this habit, this pattern? And you don't have to remember the exact time and space where you learned it, but get a general sense of, when did you start doing this? Because you probably didn't do it at the age of 4. And you know, some of us have stressful experiences in the womb, for sure. You know, we're sometimes awash with, you know, adrenaline from the mother's womb. Most of you probably haven't had that experience completely. So take your time and just ask yourself the questions. You don't even have to come up with an answer. It's not about answering the questions, it's about asking the questions. Because when you ask, where did I learn it? What that means is that's a learned behavior. It's not who you are. And if it's a learned behavior and you can accept that, then you can change it. You're giving yourself the space for accepting that you can change it. It's not defined as you. Something you learned at 4 or 5 or 6 or whenever it was, 15 or whatever, from somebody or something or some experience. And I learn to obsessively think about money like this, for example. When did I learn to awfulize, think negative things about possibilities about the future with regard, for example, say, for example, the relationship or whatever it is. You know, we won't catch the patterns, catch the mental patterns. Because once the mental patterns are observed and in awareness, they can change over time. And they will change. Right. So if you've got any of those domains, again, I'll remind you what they might be, and there could be others. Relationship, particularly intimate relationships often, but relationships, intimate relationships with other people that are important to us. Relationships with people where we're experiencing some difficulty. There's three kinds of domains of relationship. Money is really common. Work is really common. Health is really common. Time, issues of time. There's a few domains there. Let's give you one more minute to do that. Okay. And take one of those patterns to start with. Start with one of them. It's entirely up to you which one you start with. And the question here, it's just questions. You don't have to come up with a clear answer necessarily. It can be an answer that arises in terms of your experience over time. So the question is, what would I rather experience in terms of my relationship with? What would I rather experience in terms of my relationship with money and the feeling of insufficient money? For example, what would I rather experience? Other than, say, for example, if there's an obsessive or difficult thinking pattern, what would you rather experience? And you can ask the same question in any of the other domains, if you choose, just for a couple of minutes. I'm not going to stay very long in them. What would I rather experience in relationship to? Beautiful. Now, given you've taken the time to reflect on what the patterns might be, given you've potentially understood that the patterns had a start, they had a beginning, and they're learned, and therefore they can have an end, they can change. And given you've thought about what you'd rather do instead, the question now is, what's stopping you from changing those patterns now? And if not now, then when will you change them? Next week? In a month or two? A year? When would you like to change them? Every single thought that happens in your brain has resultant neurochemicals, peptides, hormones, neurotransmitters, the three main chemical messaging systems, neural signals as well. And those have consequences in terms of the body, in terms of how the cells respond to those peptides, the way the peptides enter into the cells of the body. So the way we think affects the way we live. So we have repetitive, complicated thinking patterns that we've yet to fully explore and fully resolve and integrate. They have consequences in the body. So So making this clear choice now. Because if you make a clear choice now that you're going to do something about it now, and from now on, and every time these patterns come up in your thought processes, you can start to catch them and you can say, oh, I'm doing really difficult, complicated, circuitous, repetitive thinking around topic X. You catch it. And you can just ask yourself the question, what would I rather do right now? Am I happy continuing that, or would I rather do something different, given that it's a learned pattern? And it's called a pattern interrupt. So when you interrupt the pattern like that, you have a huge amount more choice about what to do with your brain. So rather than just doing the learned pattern playing itself out, you have that opportunity to grab hold of that pattern, interrupt it, and choose something else. And let go now of all the questions. Let go of all the questions now. So you can come into a breathing pattern of about 4 seconds. Inhale, maybe 4 to 6 seconds inhale through both nostrils. Spread both nostrils wide as you breathe in. And hold the breath in the body for about 4 seconds. Maybe up to 6, but probably about 4. And then see if you can breathe out for 16 seconds, 16 counts. Or head in that direction. So it's a 4, 4, 16. And we're going to do this for 5 minutes. 4, 4, 16 breath. It might be a little longer, like I said, 6, 16. Whatever feels right and easy enough in the body. So if you need to shorten the 16 down, make it 12, whatever it needs to be. I want it to be effortless enough so it's not a strain on the system. Work out where your edge is. I'm going to join you in this in just 5 minutes from now. Let your mind dive right into the breath. Let it go completely into the breath. So the breath and the movement of the respiratory muscles fully occupy mind. It's already 1 minute. That's 2 minutes. That's 3. That's 4 minutes. That's 5 minutes. Just relax the breath now. Notice the shift from manipulating the breath into just awareness of breath. Great. Now come back in. Choose the most contentious topic, the one which takes up most of your mental energy or is the most difficult for you in some way, and one that has particularly strong body feelings associated with it, whether that's anxiety or fear, anger, or whatever it is. Choose one. Go for it, because we want to play with diffusing it. So you can choose one. And start thinking about it, go actively into it, actively go into the thought processes that often occur. And notice that direct relationship with body chemistry. So when you create those feelings, that's the result of the relationship between the thoughts, peptides, hormones, neurotransmitters, and then you get the sensations in the body. Just catch those linkages. I'll turn that thing off. Catch those linkages and how you create them. So we need to do it for 30 seconds. That's enough to get a sense of it. Really good. Now go back into that breath pattern just for a minute again, or less, maybe in 30 seconds. We're going for a short time. Let's go back into that 4-4-16 or whatever it was that you were working with. And when you hold the breath in the middle, and you're holding the breath in the end of the inhale, I want you to take it. So let's do it together. Hold the breath in. And I want you to squeeze the breath. So you're squeezing your tummy in. You're squeezing and pulling the front middle of the pelvic floor up. So you're kind of squeezing in around the intestines slightly. Diaphragm down. Because the breath's coming in, you're holding the breath in, so diaphragm's down slightly, tummy muscles in, pelvic floor up. And really squeeze, you're squeezing the nerve endings, in fact, in the visceral fascia. Hold that breath, squeeze that breath, like so the in-breath hold, you're just squeezing it slightly. And then release, and then exhale. Slow, steady inhale. Into a 4 count or so, maybe a 6. Hold the breath in the body. Squeeze that breath, tummy in, pelvic floor up. Pulse a little bit, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Let go, and then release. So you've got a powerful pattern interrupt here. You can interrupt just about any pattern, mental, emotional pattern. When you understand what, if it's not a healthy habit of thought and feeling. Now, the next question for you, you ready? What are the learning opportunities? What are the challenges? What are the learning opportunities in this domain of your experience? What could you learn? First one, what can you learn? Second one, what are the challenges here? There's a third question as well. That's coming in a minute. What are you willing to learn? What are you not willing to learn? Those are good questions. What would you rather not learn? Because then we can look into it. Okay? What are you willing to learn here? Because if we can change that pattern into something which is functional in terms of our development, we're giving it a different kind of energy. So we're using it as feedback rather than as a pattern to continually weaken us that depletes energy rather than being a depleting cycle. It's a functional cycle going into, okay, what is useful here? What can I learn? What can I pay attention to? Right? And the third question is, how can you empower yourself with it? So the practice is to use every single thing, everything that happens as a form of empowerment. Okay. Just a moment. I'm going to come into another breath practice in a minute. So breathing in through both nostrils, spreading the nostrils wide, relaxing the jaw. On the inhale, I'm going to go from approximately double the length of the inhale that you did before. So whatever you did before, we're going to aim for double the length, as long as it's relatively stress-free. And move your eyes from side to side as you're doing it. As you're breathing in, hold the breath in the system, gentle squeeze. And on the exhale again, you can move the eyes side to side gently if they want to do that. And if you can, hum on the out breath as well. It could be almost inaudible. So it's actually just about vibrating your nervous system rather than humming, but you're using that kind of gentle vocalization as a way of doing that. So what we're getting here is an almost equal inhale and exhale. The exhale may be slightly longer. Long, slow inhale. Hold the breath, squeeze. Eye movement. Breathing out with or without eye movement. And humming, almost inaudibly. I'm inviting you to do this for a period of time, because you can take your brain into a particular brainwave state like this, which is where you have that's what I'm looking for. Synchrony, coherence, resonance through the whole of the nervous system. So rather than being disparate, chaotic activity of the brain, you're going to start to bring it into a resonant sense of coherence. That eye movement, fairly rapid eye movement, is going to allow you to integrate right and left brain functions very well, which is one of the things that happens when we're learning. When we're learning anything, when it's novel, when it's new, the right brain does a lot of processing initially. And then when it becomes more familiar, it shifts it over to the left brain. And then it shifts it back into the cerebellum, into the back of the brain. So we've got this learning loop, if you like. And this eye movement helps that process. So when we're seeking to learn from experience and to empower ourselves, it's quite useful. Eye movement on the inhale, jaw relaxed. Long, slow inhale, as slow as you can. Hold the breath, keep the eye movement going. And breathe out. You can either relax the eyes, which can feel really nice. You can keep them going if that feels really okay. And just gentle sounding on the exhalation. And just complete the exhale, then straight into the inhale again. I'm just checking how long I think I'd like you to do this for. I think 10 minutes is good. And start to experience how your brain feels, how your nervous system, I mean the whole nervous system, body, spinal cord, all the nerves in the body. So looking at resonance through the whole of your neural experience. So we're tracking the changes in neural experience, one brainwave state to another. So you start to understand, you start to map them, so that you know what it's like. Really good. Stay with it if you can. Yeah, do feel free to move. Free to do whatever your body wants you to do. You're doing really well. Keep going with it. See how slowly you can take the inhale. The less rush, the less hunger there is on the inhale, the more relaxed your physiology is becoming. If there's a kind of sense of air hunger and desperation, even tremors of it on the inhale, then your system is still in a gentle state of stress. Directing our brain to go in deeper than that experience, out of the arousal, sympathetic, into way, way deeper. It's 5 minutes, it's halfway through. If you've got any thought processes rising up in the breath work, that's okay. But see if you can bring your attention a bit deeper into the breath. So you're choosing where to put your attention out of thinking into the breath. That's 7 minutes. Just 3 more minutes. Back of the neck long, jaw soft and relaxed. It could be a pulsing movement along the spine, a gentle wave. Keep the eye movement happening if you can. Yeah, it's kind of gymnastic experience for the eye muscles. Aware of this, it does take time. But they do it when you're sleeping anyway. Very successfully. Every time you go into dream state, they're doing it. Keep the eyes moving, jaw relaxing a bit more. Any sound on the exhale, any gentle vibration on the exhale. Soft breath hold. Wonderful. And that's your 10 minutes of this saccade breath. Just relax your eyes now. And gradually over the next breath or two, just let go of any manipulation of any control over the breath. And find a new normal for the breath. A new level of activity the body wants to just do. Notice feeling state, the tone, if you like, of your body, the tone, the underlying tone of your brain. What's happening? Kind of staying in curiosity, a state of curious observation. Becoming the observer, the subjective scientist of your own experience. Okay, yes. We're going to put a recommendation up on Mighty Networks, but before I get around to doing that, this is a book I've started reading today. It's called Move Your DNA. It's quite nice. It goes well with the kind of movement practices we're working with. I want to read just a little quote here from somebody called Lena Horne. It says, "It's not the load that breaks you down, it's the way you carry it." The woman who wrote the book was Katie Berman. Says, she modifies it and said, she said, "I'd love to modify it to say, it's not the weight that breaks you down, it's the load created by the way you carry it." But it's not quite so poetic as she says. But it's the same with stress. We ain't going to get rid of it. It's just like gravity. You're not going to get rid of gravity. It's not going away. You know, gravity is, that's how it is. And there's going to be gravity on your body no matter what happens. You're going to be, you know, we grow against it, it pulls us down. That's the nature of gravity, and it affects all our organs, our bones, and everything. It's necessary, and it's not going away. And neither is stress. You know, we can have this illusion that we're going to create some wonderful paradise where there's no stress. It's not going to happen. But what we can do is we can take charge of how we deal with it, how we relate to stressors, and that we have control over. And that gives us the edge in terms of being able to process and work with just about anything. Right? So if you can recognize and observe the internal patterns of thought and feeling, the internal states, really feel them and interrupt them, and then change state, and then come back to the question, which is what we're going to do now, right? What would you rather do? What would you rather experience with any of those dynamics? What ways can you empower yourself with those? What do you choose? I've had a very strong day today, personally. It's been very, very busy. I've been living in this 10-meter caravan. It's nearly 3 meters wide, just under. And we had to move it. It hasn't moved for 10 months. So we moved into a storage field today, and to get it out of the place we're living in, we had about an inch either side of the caravan at various points, with a wall of a barn and a wall of a building. You know the place, James. We had to get it through there, but there wasn't enough room to get it through and angle the towing vehicle through at the same time. So we ended up taking some of the guttering down and one thing and another. And finally, it took about 2.5 hours just to get this vehicle, this caravan, moving through that portal, and then take it across, 20 miles across the countryside and park it up. But it's been a busy day, and there were moments when it felt so stuck, like it was just not going to move. There's no way we were going to get that vehicle out of there. That's what it looked like. That's what it felt like. It just took 3 of us, but it's there. It's done. And it's interesting then in terms of working with, because I think we can work with just about anything. And if you read the blog I've written yesterday, it's looking at the ongoing dynamic that we're all going to face and are already facing with social media and information loads. And coming up next, by the way, is quantum computing and artificial intelligence, machine learning. And we have to deal with it. So how do we deal effectively with our future? And the answer is by taking control of our own neural states, by understanding Do we have sufficient capacity to look at what we're doing internally and work effectively with that? So we have choice inside here, inside here. If we don't have that choice, we don't create that choice, we're in trouble. So that's enough preaching on my part and teaching. Let's do a little bit more practice, okay? Great. Everybody okay? You good with that? Helpful? Awesome. No, we've got a few minutes left, so. I have my tethering device up there. I'm going to turn it on silent because it's creating some noises which I don't like in the group. I've got a couple of chat sessions. I'm just see what everybody's saying. Okay, Jill. Thank you. Synchronicity, just been discussing this topic with medics. Great. So let's take the arms up into the air. Reach up and open like this. Reach up wide. And wiggle your spine a bit. Wiggle your spine. Twist a little bit. Yeah, any twisting movements. Use your breath as feels right in the movement. Yeah. So just reaching up. You can bend the elbows a little bit or have them straight either way. So a little bit of twisting. Yeah. And then a couple more times each side, just the twisting first of all. And come into curling up, curling right back. And use the inhale to open up and see how much you can lift the heart and lift the back of the head. If you put a finger on the back of the head, a point on the back of the head, and feel that back point, that's the point you're lifting here, not the chin so much. We can lift the chin, but let's play with the back of the head for now. Yeah, so curling right up, chin tucking right in, and then breathing in up and open, 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 open up, and lift that back point of the head up to the sky, up to the stars. And then out breath, curling right down, empty out. In boy, you'll notice when you're doing that, if you feel that, if you're cross-legged, you're going to be rolling backwards and forwards on the sit bones. If you're kneeling, you'll feel the pelvis rolling back and forwards anyway, anteriorly, posteriorly rotating, with the correct title. Yeah? Now, again, use your fingertips like wings here to really open up and expand. And you can play with this experience in the hands as well, with this inhale, really reaching up, almost lifting yourself up on the fingertips here. And out breath, just relaxing, curling down, and you can wriggle the fingers, relaxing on the way down. Great, yeah. You can play with how much you open and how much you close. You know, make it your thing. And you might find that in the, say for example, in the coming back into flexion, spinal flexion, the curling back feeling, it might be nice to wiggle into that and get a bit of twist happening in there as well, like we did earlier. It might be nice to wiggle up and twist on the way in. Okay. Now, we're going to do some much stronger breathing now. And what I'm inviting you to do is, if you need to, take a little bit through the mouth, but a tiny amount through the mouth. And get your wolf nose or your bear nose or your dragon nose, whatever you've got there, whatever creature you're going to manifest. Get this sense of opening up here. Yeah, see how much in breath you can take in here. Breath out. Empty out. Okay, and let's play with this breath now. Let's take it and start riding the breath like a dragon in the sky. Start off with an easy rhythm, find a natural rhythm for your system. Very brief hold at the end of the inhale, breathing out, breathing out, breathing out. Breath in. Breathing out. Yeah. I'll do at least 5 minutes like this. Okay. Maybe 7, but we'll see how it goes. But let's get 5 in at least. If you feel that your arms and your body is getting tired, then minimize the movements, come in, bring your hands on your chest. Bring your hand on your belly if you want to. You modify the practice, don't you? Make yourself tired with it. It's meant to energize, not to exhaust. And find that power relationship with the gravity on the inhale. Use that inhale to find that feeling of opening up into gravity, against gravity, lifting, finding the levity, the expansive force of the universe. So coming into that expansive force of the universe here, really feeling it. And out breath going with gravity, letting go into gravity, really finding the release into gravitational force. And then the lift up again into levity. Finding the power of the muscles, the power of the breath that gives you that levity. If it feels right to you, can add in a breath hold. We've been doing breath holds at the end of the inhale. We've got a steady rhythm going. If it feels right, then add in a breath hold here. Doesn't have to be as long as it needs to be, as long as it wants to be. Add that breath hold in and just find that expansive lifting quality. Rooted and lifted. Roots and wings. And out breath, whenever you're ready, just breathe out and drop right down with gravity, curling up, curling up, curling up into it. Yeah. And then expand again. Feel the heart lifting and opening. Feel the brow lifting right through the crown of the head. Yeah, and then dropping and then dropping into gravity. Oh. Breathing into choice. Into your own experience of internal empowerment, which is awareness and the choice that arises from this. You have the choice. The space between gravity and levity, between roots and wings, is rippling, is full with awareness. It's that polarization. It's in the polarization we find awareness. Let the whole body become aware in this movement. Feel it. Feel the whole body. The movement feel good. Not just awareness, but a peaceful, blissful kind of awareness, which is kind of so, whether you're curling up, feel the delight in that curl. the groundedness, the delight of going with gravity. And open up, breathing in, and find the peace, the bliss, the delight of opening into space. If you're doing the breath hold, find the spaciousness in that. That's 2 minutes already. You might find there's a sequence of movement that kind of arises for your body, and then it might change. So be open to change in this as well. Be open to the pattern of movement that might be repeating, and then be open to the movement, because you might find that you'll curl in this way repeatedly, and all of a sudden it curls a different way. So feel what's possible, and be open to what's arising. And that may be a repetitive cycle. It's fine if it is. It's all good. And be open to learning here. Let the body be a part of this learning process of responding to the moment, this moment of the practice, this moment of the experience. So we're letting the intelligence of the body speak and listening to this as well. Beautiful. Keep going. You're doing really well. And now start to play with a little bit around velocity, around speed, if you want to. Again, it might be nice. It might be really nice just to keep it steady. It might be nice to slow it down that little bit more and find a little bit more awareness in the slowness of the movement. So don't just go fast because I'm mentioning it, okay? Just feel what feels true to you. But it might feel good just to kind of get really dynamic with it. So you find this kind of volcano of energy arising. Now tune into what feels deeply appropriate right now. Again, trust that. And letting desire play its role here. You know, desire for space, for light, for awareness. Desire for release, for grounding. The relationship between desire, and movement is powerful. A lot of kind of spiritual type traditions try and eliminate desire. I think it's a terrible mistake. You know, we are desire. What do you want for breakfast? What do you want to, you know, necessary part of what we are. Find that in the movement, find the delight of that in the movement, of taking it into a place of recognition of your step, the step in front of you, which is this movement, this breath. Just one more minute. It'd be nice to do this for an hour sometime. I'd like to do it with you if you're up for it. And breath in, reaching up. Hold the in-breath now. Drop the chin down just a little bit, lengthening the back part of the head up, that back portion of the head up to the sky. Reach up through the fingertips. Wriggle your spine if it needs to. Just hold the breath in. Relax into it. Hold the breath. Press the tongue through his mouth. Stay with it for as long as you can. And notice that in the breath hold, no thinking is possible. You're in a thought-free zone for a while. Yeah, spacious. It's relaxation on demand when you hold the breath. I have a friend who's had ADHD in Denmark, a young boy, and he used to use breath holding to get himself out of post-school funk before he did his homework, because he was so kind of like about stuff. He had to get into to use the breath holding, and he could hold his breath for 3 minutes. He was the son of somebody in the breathology school that I used to work with. Fabulous. And when you're doing your breath holding, come out, breathe out. And just hold the breath out in the curl. When you come out, the breath hold in the curl, take a long, slow, full breath through both nostrils. And then let go of any control over the breath at all. Keep your eyes closed for a while. Just feel your body. Body, mind, brain, nervous system, mind. Feel everything. And just for a couple of minutes, just watch, feel, sense this whole experience of being alive. What it's like right now to be alive, sensing, breathing, pulsing. And if wanting comes in, notice the wanting. And when thinking comes in, notice the thinking. What are you willing to learn? What are you willing to learn from? What challenges are you willing to rise to? In what way will you empower yourself with just about anything? Beautiful. So after my long day of trying to sort the caravan out, what I did was go down to the river and get in the cold water for a little while. And come out, and the sun was still shining. And I did some movement practice in my, skin in the sun. And I walked barefoot across the grass. And it felt so peaceful, beautiful, alive. So reset. So find your ways to reset. Go back into that kind of quality of just going back into base experience of blissful livingness, breathing, pulsing, aliveness that we are. I'm done for today with you, so thank you very much. Please have a rich, delightful, gorgeous evening. And I'll see you soon. Take good care. Take good risks. Take good care. Take good risks. Bye-bye now.